who are these people? We don't know who they are. What are they doing here? They look terrible, but they seem to be going a lot faster than everyone else.
You know, no one's talking about France, no one's talking about Belgium, Canada, you know, all these other nations that are major players in team shooting. They were talking about these 4 lads from Barbados.
Me and Charlie Tanfield, were literally here. We were riding for the same road team at the time, having a pop at the IP at the Nationals. I'm thinking, well, if we're going all this way and doing all this effort, why don't we do the team pursuit as well?
So I've been sort of mincing around the track, very much like these guys are doing now, just not really taking life too seriously. And Dan rocked up, and he wanted to do IP with Charlie. And then they were like, oh, we've got 2 of us, we may as well do team pursuit as well.
And convinced them both to come along, sold them on a lie that they wouldn't have to finish, and obviously one has to. Yeah, they came along and that's it really. We went to Nationals and cleared up.
You look back at it and it's like, I can't believe we did that. Like,
we hesitated, I think, at first.
it was real small, it was proper amateur, just some guys having fun.
We didn't think much of it. It was like, great result, but didn't sort of think, how do you step up from this? We'd discussed like going to World Cups, but hadn't really put the time and effort into figuring out how you'd go about that.
It only really got serious sort of once we won it, as stupid as that sounds. It's like, we've won the Nationals, we should probably do something with this. Like,
as far as I was aware, you know, GB were never going to select us for a World Cup, so let's take ourselves to a World Cup, why not?
Left it late, asked a few questions, realised we missed the deadline by a long way as well, not like a few days, I mean like 3 months late, which in the UCI world is a no-go. But they were quite happy, quite accommodating, and said, look, you've got a week, you need to give us £5,000 in a week's time and you can race. We're like, all right, okay, where do we get £5 from in a week?
From the initial get-go was just, let's just fund this on our credit cards. Like, that's what me and Dan did. Me and Dan was like, well, we're big boys, we've got credit cards, let's use them. Just the same as my other mate saying, let's use my credit card to go to Thailand for 2 months. I just decided rather than go to a full moon party, I'd go and get a spat in Poland instead. What more do you want to do?
We got a bit of crowdfunding, I think it was about £1.5 grand there, and I think there's about 30 or 40 different people, so thank you to all those guys who put in there. So in total that comes to 16,000 around there, which for going to, I think it's something like 5 or 6 international races was quite a tight budget to say the least, so a lot of credit card work.
we didn't know what was going to happen at the start because it's such like a different level. You've never even like, you know, there's one thing competing at the Nationals, another thing competing against 15 of the best nations in the world.
You know, we're completely wide-eyed. We're just running around the track looking at everyone's bikes. It's like, you know, we may as well have been at the NEC bike show or something, just wandering around, just prodding people's bikes and being like, oh, look at that. And just kids in a toy shop sort of thing.
So the first few rounds there was a lot of shock and awe and a bit like, what are these guys doing and how and why, and a lot of, yeah, raised eyebrows to say the least.
First time in Poland, so like you go to these events and like the teams are all so drilled. These guys have been riding team pursuit for years and years and years, so like they all do the same sort of warm-up in these sessions, and we rock up and we're like, well, we don't really know what we should do. Let's do like a standing 2K, shall we? He was like, yeah, let's go for it. So like we've got the Italians like waiting on the fence just over there, and we're like ploughing around up world record split. It's like, we're amazing. I remember seeing their face when they come up because they've never seen anything like our positions, and like our strategy of like losing a man early. They were just, you know, you could see the shock in their face. I know that was a pretty like surreal moment. It's like these are the European champions and they're impressed by us.
And got on the track, and we'd only really trained here, so this is a significantly slower track than international tracks. So we jump on the track and we just start twatting around at like world record pace, and everyone's just like, what are these lads doing? Like, you got the Italian coaches just like double checking the stopwatches, being, who are these people? We don't know who they are. What are they doing here? They look terrible, but they seem to be going a lot faster than everyone else.
But when you've got people like John knocking out 410s for fun, yeah, people are going to turn heads, and you've got national governing bodies, performance directors and sports scientists coming over and poking and prodding and asking questions, and why are you doing this and why are you doing that? And a lot of people trying to copy us as well, which is quite nice as well. The biggest low for me, probably in the whole 2 years, would be at Poland when we didn't get 3 across the line because we were on for such a good time, and it could have been an outrageous story to go to your first World Cup, and probably could have done like a 3:55.
Poland was a real sort of like eye-opener for us, and we were like, oh, we're actually not terrible. Like, I mean, it was, the ride fell apart and we became 7th, I think.
We'd realised that was essentially all our budget. That was gone because, at the same time I say we fund it all on our credit cards still have limits. We're not bankers or nothing like that. It's just, we're still on like student credit cards where it still has a limit, and we'd pretty much maxed out all our budget and what we could really afford to pay on things. And it was like, right, well, are we going to be able to afford to do another one other than Manchester that's in 2 weeks' time, and are we going to turn it around by Manchester?
So I remember on the flight, it was a horrible flight. Like, me and Dan sat there, we wrote 42 things out of how we can make Tipper go faster, like, and how as a team we can improve. We instigated those the next day.
Within a day, we kind of realised, well, so what, we've got a week to Manchester, home World Cup, let's turn this round, and we came up with a massive list of like 40 items, 50 items of how do we get Tipper across the line, which is where the whole Medi method idea came from, where we switch into man 3 rather than me changing to man 4, just to keep Tipper further back in the line for longer. And obviously it worked going into Manchester, we got into the bronze medal final and narrowly missed out on the medal, but yeah, I think that was a low, but we turned it into quite a big positive.
We were leading the French till 2 laps to go, who were European champions in the bronze medal ride-off. So to do that 2 weeks after how bad Poland had gone, and turn a few things around and try a few different tactics, that was probably one of the most exciting races, to be honest. That was probably where the morale was as high, if not higher, than Belarus at times.
Like, we came away with that with like a lot of positive energy, and like we can actually compete at this level. There's a lot of little things that we can easily correct and like sort out in the next few months. We can come back in Belarus and we can win it, which we did, which is nice.
I think obviously the initial Belarus World Cup win was obviously that was the important one.
I think the way we got into how we ride is more out of necessity than trying to be innovative. We had Tipper last year, who he'd say himself is not the strongest rider. So we were doing team pursuits where he would only see the front for one single half-lap turn, which is quite a hard challenge to do. And then we had Johnny as well, who's very aerobically weak, or at least comparatively to ourselves. So if you put him at man 2, 3 or 4, he's burning up his anaerobic tank. So effectively he can't contribute as much as if he was on the front, which is why we use him up very early on, but we can get 5 to 6 laps out of him. Whereas if you were to put him in the line, you might get 2 1.5 laps, maybe 2 2-lap turns. So we get more net gain out of him by using up early. And it also means the hardest part of the race, the start, you get to do and then recover. So man 3 and 4 actually recover a little bit of their anaerobic tank and can settle in. And you also can think a bit more about consistent pacing. So we do longer turns, so whether it's, well, roughly between 3 and 4 laps, depending on who the rider is. So it actually means you can think more about how you pace, how you deliver, and then everyone else has just got to execute one single turn. Which is quite a nice way of thinking about team pursuit, rather than quite a chaotic environment. You've just got one single effort, get it out, get it nailed, get it done, and then get back on again. And the final advantage really is you're not doing as many changes. So each time you change, you're losing a bike length, which is about 1/10.5. So if we change half as many times as the others, so let's say most team pursuits probably change 10 to 12 times, 6 times 1.15 seconds, it's nearly a second. They've got to ride a second faster than us, just do the same speed. So we can be a lot more efficient about that. Small little details, but they obviously add up.
So we've got one on WARMUPS bike at the moment, we're just not running them today, but for most team pursuit sessions, what that measures is airspeed, wheel speed and power, but also 3-axis inertial measurements. So you get accelerometry data and 3 axes, gyro data, magnetometer, so we know all the tyre forces, all acceleration data, the angle of the bike relative to the track, position on the track, airspeed, so how well you're drafting the rider in front, and power and speed we get at 4 Hz, whereas Garmin's only log at 1 Hz. So just more data, better quality data, and we do much better analysis based on that.
Oh, they're the People's Public of Barbados. So if you look on the start sheet of every World Cup, it's always, they have the UCI logo as a flag, because obviously you've got GB there, that we're not representing them as such. So we're like unattached, sort of France, Denmark, and just like random Team HUUB. Yeah, so Dino came up with the idea of making a flag of Barbados.
And we'd obviously not seen eye to eye with Great Britain this year for whatever reason, and not had the support or the respect I think we deserve for what we were trying to do. So yeah, we kind of felt a bit disillusioned by the whole Great Britain thing and thought, you know what, let's set up our own nation, the People's Republic of Barbados. And
I guess we've got some of the bits on the back, you can see, if you can zoom in on that whatever, but it's just little things that represent Derby. You've got the Rolls-Royce engine, you've got the old silk mill, and of course some nice palm trees, because of represents the sandy beaches we have in Barbados. So for us it's World Cups, and then it's world record. It's the next level we can get to. So that is the plan. Sometime next summer, we're going to go off to Agua Calientes in Mexico and break some world records.
End goal, I'd be very satisfied with the project if we broke all the world records, the IP, the TP and the hour, in a single week. For me, that's such a cool project and kind of vindication of all the hard work and all the maths and the numbers and everything that's gone into the project. If we can go out there and say we are the fastest people against the clock, there's nothing more we can do. If we can't go to the Olympics and we can't take on the Aussies and the Danes, then c'est la vie, but at least we'll be on the top of the start list with world record, HUUB Wattbike, and the best we can do. Simple as that, right? Just break the world record.